Welcome to the Bearded Finisher Podcast, your one-stop show for all things finishing and coatings. Your host, Zach, and a variety of industry experts will guide you through the art of perfecting your finishing and business game. From seasoned pros to fresh faces, get ready for tips, tricks, and trends to elevate your knowledge and business to the next level.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. We are back in the studio this week, and we have got, and I always mess up your last name, Ryan, but Ryan Huisman?
Huisman, just like the trophy.
See, I told you I was going to screw it up. I don't know why I try to do that every time. Ryan is, if you guys don't know who Ryan is, Ryan and I met back in my days when I was with Centurion CIC Coatings. At that time, it was Miller Paint, and they were a distributor, and Ryan was our, he was our go-to guy for Centurion for the wood coatings at Miller. There's a new development for them. But hit it off really well, had a great relationship, troubleshot a lot of stuff. Now it's Miller Rada or Rada Miller? Which one goes
Miller.
first?
Rada Miller.
Of course,
Rada goes rolls first, right off the tongue.
Miller. It's not alphabetical, but that's okay. He is now doing a lot with the wood coatings division over at Rada Miller. So welcome to the show, brother. I'm glad to have you on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. Glad to be on.
Awesome. I mean, like we were just talking offline. I think you are the first sales rep to come on the show. Keep it simple. I mean, a couple things that I want to hit on is a quick recap of your history, because I know you've had a really unique history in this business. Let everybody know where you came from and how you got to where you're at. Things for the future. But you know what I think would be really fun is to not talk shit on painters, but all right, painters, stop asking these questions if you really want us to help, or how can the painters and the finishers out there, what can they do to get on the, I don't want to say better side, but just to make sure they have the good relationships? Because I know a lot of them, you know, I've interviewed a lot of finishers, and a lot of them gripe about their sales reps. So, and I think that's just the nature of the beast. Someone who's charging you money, and you're, you know, how that goes. But let's just kind of kick it off with your history of what you did before Miller.
Oh, that's an interesting one. So I'm a South Side Chicago boy. Lived there most of my life.
That I didn't know.
Yeah. Diehard White Sox fan.
Chicago boy up in the Northwest. Good night.
Yeah, it's interesting. Even though I love it here in Spokane now. I grew up in Chicago, loved it. I'm the
Did
youngest.
you go to school in Chicago?
Yeah. Youngest out of 3 boys. And if you see me, which hopefully you guys see me in Vegas, I'm a pretty tall individual. It's
okay.
You notice me.
Wait a minute. When he says pretty tall individual, everyone needs to understand he towers over everyone around him. I'm not sure that I have met anyone taller than you. I'm trying to think. How you're like, you have to be 6'6" at least.
6'8".
6'8". Okay. I was going to say, I would say minimum, you're probably, yeah. You pick him just by the fact that he's a good 18 inches taller than everyone else in the room. You can pick him out very easily. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I get asked a lot of questions. How tall am I? Do I play basketball? Can I dunk? All that stuff.
How's the weather up there?
Yeah. Yeah. But no, Chicago.
Just only the dads.
Yeah. So, born and raised in Chicago, moved around a lot. Lived in Colorado, Denver for a while. Lived in Pennsylvania for a year. Longest year of my life. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I'm
Sorry,
not
guys.
not so much either.
So what were you doing in Pennsylvania? Were you working or going to school?
I was actually, so this leads me to like what I've wanted to do since growing up. I was a youth pastor in Pennsylvania, and wanted to be in ministry uh, since I was probably, you know, 11, 12 years old.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I moved around a lot due to schooling, going to Bible college and all that. Um, the first Bible college I went to closed their doors, so I had to leave, go somewhere else. And everywhere I went, I got a job at a paint store as a part timer. That's how I kind of got introduced to paint.
So did it start somewhere when you were younger? Did you have parents that painted? Mom, dad do anything like that?
My dad owned his own business, and he did gutters and siding and whatnot. Uh, and that was technically my first job, is helping my dad out.
Getting yelled
Pretty
at.
much hold the gutter up. That's all I did.
Yeah.
So
Understand. So I mean, what was the first? I'm trying to think how to word this, and excuse my ignorance, but what was the first? What made you thought I'm going to go see if I can get a job at a paint store? Well, I mean, what was the first paint store you worked at, and how old were you?
so the first, back it up a little bit, but the first position I had was at Menards in the Midwest, and I was outside the store pushing carts uh, in the summertime. And when I left college, it pretty much became my full time job is pushing carts. And I remember this, that I was only a part timer, but I was working full time hours. But full time pay was a couple dollars more. So I kept on asking my boss, I was like, "Hey, I love the hours, but can I get full time pay?" And he's like, "Well, you got to work inside the store." So I said, "Okay, find me something inside the store." And he came to me and he's like, "Can you work in the paint department?" So I was like, "Sure, why not?" Right?
It's paint. I can do that.
So back then, I was just, filling holes and empty holes and stuff like that on, Stock Boy and whatnot. And I just remember just reading the labels of the paint can, because that's what my boss told me. He's like, "Hey, best thing for you to do right now is do stock and read the label. That's it." So that's what I did. I just read the
it's
label.
good advice.
And
Yeah.
we sold Dutch Boy at the time. So yeah, that was my first experience. So uh, when I moved to Denver to go to Bible college, needed a part-time job, stopped in the local Sherwin store, and the rest is history.
That's right. You are an SW boy.
I am. Yeah.
So how long? So what year were you in Denver? Like just time frame, so people kind of understand.
So I graduated in high school in 2000. So I must have been in Denver probably 2004. My first stint in Denver was 2004 to 2008.
So yeah, you and I are about the same age. I graduated in 01. So we're right in that, the 40s. We'll just leave it at that.
So that first stint at Sherwin was probably one of my most favorite jobs of all time.
Part-time.
Yeah, because a lot of people ask me this, because once they know that I worked for Sherwin for a number of years, they're like, "Hey, how'd you like it?" And I was like, "I'll tell you this. As a part-timer, it was one of the best jobs I've ever had. It was great. I loved it. It was prior to the crash of '08 and whatnot. And I think Sherwin was just different back then. it was just more of a paint store and not this like big, huge, evil empire.
Yeah. The
So,
monster.
yeah. So I loved it. It was great. I loved my coworkers. My store manager at the time, we're still friends to this day. Uh, yeah, yeah. So he he taught me a lot about paint, about hard work.
So, and then from Denver, that after Denver, is that when you went to Pennsylvania?
No, I moved back home, try to figure out
Okay.
my
Back to
life.
Chicago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I moved back home, back to Chicago. Worked at Sherwin Williams again, try to figure things out, and then I got the job at as a youth pastor in Pennsylvania.
And then where was after Pennsylvania?
So after Pennsylvania, then I moved back home again because that was a that was the longest year of my life, I would say. try to forget that part.
Was it because the ministry wasn't what you thought it was, or the fact that you were probably in rural Pennsylvania?
A little bit of both. No, it was just yeah, not the ministry that I was thinking of and whatnot. So
So you go back to Chicago,
go back to
probably get
Chicago,
back in the paint world.
get back in the paint world. I go back to Menards actually. Uh, so full circle. I got a full-time job in the paint department at Menards, and at that point I was in my early 20s, having fun, whatnot, um, and just wanted more. So I just decided that uh, I was gonna go off to college again, and met my wife on eHarmony. She's from Washington, um,
Now
and
it's starting to make sense. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So then I moved to Portland. Went to college for 5 years. Married my wife, and through the whole time, I had a part-time job at Sherwin.
I mean, it is an industry that it doesn't matter where you're at, you can find a job.
Just keeps on pulling you back, pulling you back.
I mean, I don't know how many times I've said that this industry is like the strongest black hole that ever existed. No matter what you do, you cannot get out of this industry. It's got some sort of weird, glue, chemical, I don't know what you want to call it. It's got some sort of messes with your brain chemistry, and then you can't get out of it. And then once you start, it's over. So, okay. So we're up in Portland at SW. And then is that where you migrated over to Miller?
I tried to apply at a Miller store. I remember walking in there and said, "Hey, here's my resume and whatnot," um, and it just never worked out um, when I was there to work at Miller. Um, from there, once I graduated college, uh, me and my wife moved to Colorado again. And yeah, she was born and raised in Colorado, so that was perfect. She had some family here, uh, and it was, I lived there, and we just kind of had a good fit. Where Colorado is like in between her current family, where it's in Washington, and my family's in Chicago, and it's like in the middle place. And it was just we thought it was a good move. So moved there. Also had a job waiting in the wings in ministry. And during the whole ministry time there in Colorado, when I first got there, just never really worked out again. So got a part-time job at Sherwin. And
Good old Sherwin. Never let you down.
yeah. And that store manager uh, was phenomenal. He was great. And I was just a poor college student trying to make it, right? Um, and he told me, he's like, "Hey, you okay?" And I'm like, "No," because if I was like, "I tell you the truth, I'm not." Uh, it's either it's either you know, we gotta call it quits and move in with my family, or move in with my wife's family because we just don't have enough money. So he's like, "Well, what do you have a degree?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's a Bible degree." Like, what? He's like, "Oh, don't matter." He's like, "You can get into this manager and training program." And
That is correct. He's yep.
so I was like, I thought about it. At the time, it was a big bump up in salary and whatnot. But I knew down deep, I was like, do I really want to do this? Like, do I really want to make this my life in the paint world? And I think that was a point in my life, was like, okay, the black hole is going to bring me deeper. And so I said, yeah, and got into the program. And at the time, you know how Sherwin Williams loves to like move people around. And
You
we
want
were
to
in the
go up, you can't
process.
stay in one town.
Yeah, I was in the process of adoption. And so we needed to stay in the state of Colorado. So they were like, "Oh, I don't know about it, but okay, we'll do it." So, just moved around store to store to store in the Denver area. Yeah. So just just enjoying becoming an assistant manager and whatnot. It's one of the hardest jobs that they have, I would say, as assistant manager. Yeah.
I could definitely see that. Yeah.
Because you want to grow with the company, so you're hungry, uh, and you want to impress everybody, all the higher ups. But you have a at the time, for me, it was 44 hours, and you got to clock in, clock out, 44 hours a week. And for everything that they gave the assistant managers, 44 hours ain't nothing. I mean, if you really want to impress them, you're working 50, 55 hours. So there was 10 hours a week that sometimes I would do work off the clock, stuff like that, just to get it
Yeah.
done. Um,
Yeah.
and that was the big difference, by the way, between the '08 crash. Prior, Sherwin Williams did not have that. Versus, when I was at Sherwin now, it was,
Really?
yeah, 2012 is when I started, doing the Sherwin thing again. Uh, so that 4-year difference, I want to say Sherwood really changed everything. They became corporate. They became a lot of things that me now absolutely hate.
You were young and didn't know those things, but that's interesting. I didn't know that they were so, we'll call it casual.
Yeah, I mean, prior to '08, Sherwin Williams was like, it was just a good old boy paint store club. It was great. It was
I mean,
just,
if I put my thinking hat on, and I've played in 2 SW golf tournaments, and for lack of a better term, those things are shit shows. Like, those things are crazy. And then you see all those older district managers that would be there, and the sales managers, and how it makes a lot of sense to what you're saying versus how they acted versus how the younger sales guys acted.
so this was prior to me, jumping on Sherwin in '04. But a lot of the old timers back in the '90s would tell me stories of the old pro shows. And the craziness that would, oh my gosh. Because the pro shows back then were just the local store would come, would, get a bunch of beer and burgers and hot dogs and whatnot and just go at it for one afternoon. And that was their pro show.
I mean, I've heard stories of the old school guys in their 70s now. When I was in the manufacturing side, and they were manufacturers reps and the raw supplier reps. And I mean, those stories of taking customers out just about as down and dirty as it gets. Like, you tell your boss you're taking a big customer out, and yep, you're going to see who knows how many thousands of dollars of charges from this strip club that serves lunch. And that's just what you did. You took your customer where they wanted to go, which was the strip club, and you were there for like 4 hours. I mean, these stories these guys tell, and you're just like, and this was normal? And they're like, every week.
Yeah, every week.
Every week. They knew when you were coming in, they knew what day, and they knew you by first name. And I'm like, that is insane.
It was the Wild West, man. It was crazy.
I mean, literally. So you're in Denver in the manager training program. And so where'd you go next? Still with Sherwin Williams? Did you guys move out of Colorado?
I became an assistant primarily just at like 2 locations. And the stores that I was in was one of the best stores sales wise. A lot of growth in that area of Denver. And like I said, I mean, I put in a lot of work to where I felt like I was one of the top assistant managers in the region. And finally got my my management role with them at a qual store that they purchased from Comex. That was a whole big acquisition of Comex back then. And qual paint.
So let me ask you this: what was the transition time for your being an assistant manager to getting time frame between being an assistant manager to getting your store?
2-3 years, maybe something like that. So a little longer than I would have hoped for, but yeah, 3 years. And how I got it was pretty interesting. The store manager that I was under at the time, we were one of the largest stores in Denver. We did close to, I don't know, 4 or 5 million. And it was a homeowner store. It was crazy during the summertime.
So it was retail, not so much contractor.
It was a lot of retail. Yeah. So he was considered a roadblock, a person that pretty much wants to be a store manager and that's it. Right. Doesn't want to move around.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He was a great guy, very knowledgeable. And they kept on asking him, like, hey, you need to go do this. You need to do this. He's like, no, I love it here. And Sherwin does not like that when somebody stays for a long period of time. So I remember the district manager walking into the office one day and he's like, hey, you got to go take something else. This is a high priority store, $5 million store. And we want to use this store as a jumping ground for people. So he pretty much said, hey, you get paid the same, but go to a smaller store. And just pretty much
the high volume store to train this guy.
Yeah, move along. So he was kind of pissed, but he's like, hey, if you pay me the same, okay, I'll do it. And so he left. And there was a period where I was the assistant manager and there was no store manager there in the middle of summer. And it was quite interesting. And the couple months go by, they got a new store manager, which so happened to be my store manager from when I got the my store manager that talked me into the assistant into the program.
Yeah.
Right. So he moved down.
Yeah.
He was in Loveland. He moved down to the store, and now he's my store manager again. I loved it. It was great. It was good old times.
Yeah, it was like a reunion.
Yeah, and then like a month later, district manager walks in, and Sherwin acquired Comex in the Denver region. It was Qual in some areas. It was Parker Paint, Color Wheel, I think, in California. And he walks in, he's like, hey, I got to go next door to the Qual store. And I got to fire the store manager, assistant manager, pretty much everybody there. I got to fire because they've been selling spray equipment under the table. And so I said, okay, all right. He's like, you're the new store manager there. So I was like, okay, what do you want me to do? He's like, well, give me about 10 minutes to go over there, fire him, and then you can come in. So I was like, okay, cool. I was like, okay, well,
Interesting.
we had a assistant manager and training guy at our store, and he looked at him and he's like, you're now the assistant manager of Ryan. So he's like, you can go with Ryan too. So I was like, all right, cool, let's go. So we walked in to the Qual store, and the third key guy was there, and he was just a rough guy. Loved him to death, but he was just, man, he was an old time paint guy who just wanted to work. And he just straight up said, yeah, they were selling freaking everything under the table. And so I came in there and we got to work and changed that store around and did a lot of cool things. The district manager wanted to take, Denver is just blowing up with new construction, new homes.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. That was right after the crash. That's when everyone out of California was just headed
moving
that
to
direction.
Denver, yeah. So Denver was just blowing up. It was going nuts. And so one of the biggest problems that Sherwin had was you go into these $4 or $5 million paint stores, and these big time $1 million paint companies, painting these homes, they're waiting in line right behind a little Miss homeowner lady, and we had to tint 100 gallons for this guy while we're talking color to this, to the lady. And so
That's painting a wall in our dining room.
Yeah. So this district manager, good for him. He wanted a store just devoted for new construction paint.
Yeah. Like a contractor store. Yeah. Yeah. Commercial.
So it turned out to be the store that I just took over. So the store that I took over was probably $1.5 million, $2 million paint store. Overnight, it was $6 million.
Just push all that contractor work to
we
it.
were doing, oh my gosh, 40 homes a day of interior paint, exterior paint. Yeah. And it was all the great stuff, right? Promar 400, Zero, Low Sheen, Duracraft, zero warranty exterior paint. It's great. So, no, enjoyed it. But one of the things that I quickly figured out was, even though I was a big time store manager, technically a branch manager. I quickly found out that this district manager, while he was moving a lot of that money around, uh, he became my P&L, my profit and loss report, was all messed up. He pretty much gave me the shaft, and all the store managers around me got huge bonuses. Is the way
Because
he
even though
did
you were
it.
tenant all, he was running it all out of those stores.
Yeah, yeah. So I got the
Yeah,
shaft, and all the
that's
store
rough.
managers around me got, brand new. Uh, they got really good paychecks at the end of the year.
No kidding. I mean, if they're just
So
showing pure profit and you're showing a loss, that's gonna
yeah,
hit hard.
yeah. So that was my time of like, hey, I felt like, at the time, my direction is I wanted to go into not the store side of Sherwin Williams, but the side of Sherwin Williams that owns like Valspar and stuff like that, White Lightning.
Oh, what do they call it? Specialty coatings division,
Yeah,
I
it's
think is what
the
they call it.
Associated Products.
There you go. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Associated
Associated.
products.
So
Yep.
pretty much everything owned by Sherwin, but not the Sherwin label. I wanted to go that direction, and just never found a way to get into that. Um, and I felt really like it was a point in my life where I was like, okay, if I go any further, I'm I'm bleeding blue. I'm a Sherwin bot, and a lot of the corporate people were telling me a lot of things that just wasn't true. Uh, they bought Super Deck for example, Duckback, and Sherwin just told me straight up, like, hey, we didn't change anything, but all of the painters that were using it were telling me, oh yeah, they changed it. Um, it was, what are you going to believe, right? The guys who were actually doing it, or so?
It's it gets interesting when you get into that world because I've dabbled into that a little bit, and it's like even though nothing has changed,
Yeah,
even if you're buying the same coated raw material or resin, but instead of coming from manufacturer resin supplier A, it's coming from resin supplier B. And the data sheets show the resin is exactly the same. It'll still can have different adverse reactions to the co-solvents that are in the product, but on paper it's 100% the same. But that's the difference between in the lab and on paper price versus real world exposure and using it. They don't always meet up.
yeah, it's not always jiving. I'm sure we'll get into that a lot, because there's obviously a lot of companies buying companies and whatnot, and
Oh yeah.
a lot of things
I
going
think there's going to
around.
be
Yeah,
still more coming out this year from what I've heard around, just more possible acquisitions coming through. I mean, it's consolidating. Our industry, as big as it is, it's consolidating a lot.
well, just on my side with Miller and Rada, they're right now in the process of closing down the Miller factory, um, and moving everything over to the Rada factory.
So does Rada have a factory up there, or is that all Cloverdale up in Canada?
No, they have their own factory. It's in Portland.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's actually a really nice factory. The Miller factory, I think one of the reasons why we kind of shut down and sold is because in order for us to grow, our factory needed upgrades, and we were kind of landlocked with our factory. So it was hard for us to kind of grow. We needed a better factory, and it was just, that's a lot of money to put in. So Yeah, their factory's state of the art. It's really nice.
Well, I tell you what, let's take a quick break. Let's refresh our drinks, and then when we come back from the break, I kind of want to fast forward a little bit and let's dig into how you ended up at Miller, and let's kind of talk through the experiences on because you do a lot in wood coatings, so I do want to get into the wood coating side, but how the transitions going with the Rod of Miller, as much as you're allowed to talk about it. I don't know. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but we'll kind of go into that part and then we'll swing over into wood coatings.
Sweet.
Awesome. So let's grab a drink and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Do you want your brand in front of the people who actually move product? Painters, finishers, and manufacturers? The Bearded Finisher podcast has pulled in over 75,000 downloads and reaches across the entire finishing supply chain, from job site to manufacturing. From single episode sponsorships to social media promotion, we offer flexible options that get your brand noticed. Real reach, real results. Visit thebeardedfinisher.com and let's get your brand front and center. Are you a residential painter buried in admin, scheduling chaos, or constant material delays? Meet mypaintbuckets.com, the first dedicated project management platform built by painters for painters. It delivers turnkey workflows to simplify your day, from project sharing and material ordering to scheduling and EPO capture, so you can focus on scaling your crew and maintaining the reputation you've worked so hard to build. And if you're a supplier, painters are evolving faster, smarter, and more efficient than ever. The suppliers who thrive over the next 10 years will be the ones who build real trust. That's why we created free tools to help you keep up and stay relevant. Head to mypaintbuckets.com and see why the next generation of painters isn't looking back.
All right, what's going on, everybody? We are back at it. So we left the break. When we jumped into the break, we were talking about, started kind of getting into the conversation on Rod and Miller. We kind of started talking about them, but let's take it back a little step and just kind of let us know the transition of how you went from store manager and made it to Miller on the outside sales part.
So I will keep this short, but I left Sherwin. Just I didn't want to get back into the paint world. I wanted to get back into
So
ministry.
you left SW in Denver.
Yeah, because of the fact I was doing all this work and I wasn't getting paid what I thought I was wanting to get paid. And at that time, I had to make a decision. I just felt like, okay, if I move forward, I'm working for Sherwin the rest of my life. And at the time, I just didn't like what Sherwin was doing. I still don't. I wanted more. And so I got out of it and wanted to get back into ministry. I just didn't find the right fit for me. And the local Benjamin Moore stores in Denver reached out to me, Gyrie's, and you worked there for about a year, and it just wasn't. They promised me a lot and a store management position, and at the time I was just a counter guy. So my buddy up north, who I knew from a church up there, he was an entrepreneur, and he said, "Hey, you got all this paint experience. Why don't we open up a paint store in northern Colorado?" And at the time, there was really no Benjamin Moore store at all in Loveland, Fort Collins, Greeley area. And so I jumped on board with him, and we made a little old paint store called NoCo Paint and Design.
Very familiar with NoCo Paint and Design. Yes. It was after you sold it when they started distributing for CIC, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I left prior to when CIC came on board, but that's how CIC got to know me, is through NoCo.
Okay.
And so I loved it. The partnership kind of went bad. So
As partnerships kind of do
yeah.
sometimes.
And I'm so happy the paint store's still there. It's, as I know, I think it's still growing and fruitful, which is great.
That's awesome. So is the buddy that you were with, is he still
He
have
still,
it,
yeah,
or
he
did you
still
guys?
owns it. He still owns it. The guy that I have, who I hired to kind of run it, is still running it for him, and he's doing a great job. And so it's doing great. So, but I just couldn't, I was living in the same small town as the paint store. And when I left, I just told my wife, I was like, hey, I can't drive by this paint store every day that I put my blood, sweat, and tears into it to open it, to grow it. And I just can't be around it. So
Understandable.
So we left. We decided to go live in Spokane, Washington. And I told my wife, we decided to go there for my wife's business. And I told her, I find a job. Don't worry about it. It's paint, right? I can find a job anywhere in the paint department.
Exactly. Yeah.
So applied to RADA, applied to Miller, and got the job at Miller as a sales rep here.
Okay.
And it's being a part of at the time, Miller had 60 stores in the Pacific Northwest. Their main go was Portland, and Spokane was a growing market for them. And so it was great. I loved working at Miller. It was just what you think and hope for what a paint store would be. And then the CEO retired, got a new CEO from Sherwin Williams, and the whole ship kind of just, everybody that I worked with here at Miller saw the writing on the wall, and something was fishy. And it immediately was turned, the growth potential that Miller had all of a sudden got turned into, we're not doing anything. We're not putting any money into new stores, into new sales reps, territories and whatnot, and we're just going to stay put. And then COVID hit, and then you could really tell, like, the CEO wanted to sell the company, but of course we're an ESOP company, employee owned, so he had to kind of find his way out and try to find someone.
So you basically, essentially, when you're an ESOP, and you'll know more about this than I will, but the way I understand it, it's an employee stock option plan is what ESOP stands for. So you get stocks every year. For those of you that aren't familiar with ESOPs, a percentage based on bonuses or whatnot. And then when you retire, you sell that back to the company, and that's your retirement. So if a company comes in to buy, then it's kind of like, a publicly traded company. He has to agree, or whoever the buying party is, they agree to a purchase price per share. And then everyone that has shares, however many 100 shares, 500 shares, whatever that price per share is, call it $1 or whatnot, then did all the employees, so in that case, all the employees would get a check.
Yeah. So we, there's several people at Miller that were here since the beginning, 20 plus years, and made a lot of money with Miller. And so they own the majority of shares. So it's obviously employee owned, but really all you need is the big top
51%.
Yeah, 51%, the people who have the most shares. And
Yep.
so the CEO just
Convince
kind of
them and you're good.
convinced them, and he's good. So it, nothing against Rada. I actually kind of like Rada now. And Cloverdale. Cloverdale is the parent company of both Rada and now Miller. But we never wanted to sell. But Cloverdale came in with a great offer, and we knew as employees that our CEO would never even bring this offer up if he did not have that 51%.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So from there, and we were struggling, and the reason why we were struggling is because we never, for 4 years or so, never put in the money to grow.
Yeah, you never grew. You just stayed stagnant.
We just stayed stagnant.
Kept the bottom line low.
Yeah. So we knew we were in a rough position, and it was a great offer. So it just made sense to say yes. So I think it was, I don't know, it was a very healthy amount of people saying yes to the sale.
Yeah. I mean, at a certain point, and nothing against the CEO. I mean, that's just, chances are that's what he was brought in to do, is drive that EBITDA up and expenses down to make the company to make the company more profitable and make the company more appealing to larger companies. That's just kind of how that works. But I mean, as long as the employees didn't, as long as it's not like a Kelly Moore, the way I look at it as, and I'm sure you guys might look at it differently, but as long as it's not a Kelly Moore situation where everyone pretty much got left holding their D in their hand, for lack of a better definition. I mean, if it was fair, that's to me what's most important when it comes to these like buyouts, is everyone gets taken care of.
Overall, it was a fair thing. I wish it was different. We're now more, Rada's kind of more run corporately.
A little more like SW.
A little bit more like SW. And, we're, with Rada was about the same size as, I think they have 70 stores. They're in a larger footprint, right? They're in Montana and all that, where Miller wasn't. But, 60 stores plus 70 stores, we're double now. And that was the whole point, was to compete with Sherwin, right? And so far, I think we're still in that first year, but I think we are going to be able to do that pretty effectively. But ultimately, even though it might benefit us, with less competition, I think it's going to hurt the painters, right? Instead of, in the Spokane market, you have Benjamin Moore, you got Sherwin, you had Miller, you had Rada. So it was 4 paint companies. Now you're down to 3. So it's less competition. You start dwindling it down to where, I know in Denver, there's really only 2 paint companies in Denver. You got Sherwin, you got Benjamin Moore. That's it.
Well, what's interesting, when I moved into manufacturing, I found it very interesting that in the central U.S. and even over into the East Coast, you're 2 to 3, and they're big. You're PPG, SW, and Ben Moore, all through distribution. I mean, there's the random little knockoffs, but when you get into this weird atmosphere of the West Coast, from California all the way up. I mean, at one point, Miller, Rada, SW, Ben Moore, PPG, and then you had Kelly Moore, and then there's like 2 or 3 more paint manufacturers in Southern California that are fairly large. But I was like, I mean, you tally it all up, it's like 10 paint manufacturers just on the West Coast of the United States that have their own stores that get into the distribution world. I always thought that was a very unique area I never could figure out why it was like that. And I think someone told me at one time, and you know more than I would, you've up there, is SWs, they've been there, but they haven't really made, until about 5 years ago, they weren't really focusing on it. So there was so much more room for our opportunities for growth for the smaller guys. Then about 5 years ago, I don't know if SW did oh shit, we don't have much market share over there, but they just went balls to the wall on trying to increase their market share.
Yeah. It's a different environment up here for sure. Me, a Chicago boy, and Midwest, and now living here for 8 years. It's hard to, as you know, a lot of our conversations was how to get paint up into the Pacific Northwest in wintertime.
So many conversation on shipping frozen paint. So many.
That must be one of the worst things in the world, in our world. It's just,
yeah.
How do you get high-end wood coatings through the Rocky Mountains?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter what you did. Yeah, like, and I get it. Benjamin Moore was lucky, but even Benjamin Moore and PPG, a lot of those guys, when they were going up there, I'd always find people like, oh, who do you use? PPG. Well, they would start using heated trucks, but they could send, a truckload up that way to a DC in a heated truck. And you get these smaller manufacturers, like when I was with CIC, I mean, 2 pallets. I can't fit a truckload worth of paint, and then 2 pallets up there. And I mean, sure as shit, it goes LTL. It's going to hit some dock in Denver and you are effed. No way around it. They can't find it. Oh man.
So I'm going to fast forward this because currently right now I'm actually selling Renner in my wood coatings world. And I do enough to where we do 1 truckload a month. And so I'm going to bypass all of that and just go truckload, boom, here. And it's going to be heated. That's
the only way to do it.
Man,
yeah.
It's great. I got 1 location that brings it in. So I got a hub store, and then I got 2 stores that carry it. So
total of 3,
total
1
of
plus
3.
the hub.
Yeah.
Total of 3, 2 plus the hub. That's pretty awesome. And this is all in, because now that you're in Millerada, but you strictly still stay in the Spokane market. You don't get over into the Seattle. You're Spokane over to Boise a little bit?
I do. So I live in Spokane, Coeur d'Alene. Most of my business is here, but I do a lot in pretty much all the way up into the Cascades. So there's a string, Tri-Cities area and whatnot. So you're talking Eastern Washington. And then I do Northern Idaho. So, pretty much Canadian border all the way down to, Lewiston and whatnot. And then I go into Montana as far as Bozeman. The funny thing is, after our conversation, I'm packing up to go to Bozeman tonight. Yeah.
Got to be there in the morning for meet some customers.
Yeah, I got to be there in the morning.
What's that drive to Bozeman for you?
I actually, it's fine. It's what, 6-7 hour drive, but it's a
That's still
time
a drive.
difference. Yeah. So there's a time, an hour. That's Mountain Standard Time. I'm Pacific. So
Oh, that's right. That should be fun. You get to see a lot of pretty air. I mean, I remember I got up there a couple times and it's just a beautiful area. Whether it's Seattle, I never made it over to Spokane. I always wanted to. But it was that one time that I was coming to Spokane.
I tried to work with you and I'm bringing you here, but it just never worked out.
Well, I was coming into Spokane. There was one time I was like, all right, I'm going to
Yes.
Spokane, going to see Miller. And I was at the airport for like 5 hours.
Yeah.
And they'd pushed the flight back like 6 times. And they were like, no, we promised it's going to go out in like 45 minutes. And I was like,
I remember this.
F off. It is not. And then so I was like, done. And then I got home and they ended up canceling the flight at like 2 hours later.
I remember that.
And then, yeah, I do. Cause I sat at that airport. I sat at the DFW airport forever. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. We planned like a show, a demo and stuff like that at the store. And
I do remember that.
I remember I would tell my bosses like, hey, you got CIC coming up here.
Oh, that was so horrible. That's the only bad thing. And my wife does a lot of traveling now. And man, the flight delays just seem to be getting worse and worse. I mean, it's crazy. She's always delayed. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad I'm not flying anywhere right now. I say that as we got Vegas coming up. Damn it. Probably just jinxed myself.
Yeah, so that's my travel. I do
let's bump it forward a little bit. I don't want to keep you too long if you've got a 6-hour drive. Let's kind of dig into what you've noticed up in that area. Let's say, because wood coatings wasn't very strong up there. And then you kind of, I remember you were kind of nursing it in with Miller and just trying to get it in there. Did you guys see any sort of bump from the Rada acquisition that wood coatings was a little more of a priority?
So, not really. Rada's pretty weak in the wood coatings world from my perspective. I would say that over the last couple of years, we've done quite well in my market with wood coatings. Obviously, I compete with Sherwin Williams, but also, and when I talk about Sherwin in the wood coatings world, I mean ML Campbell, Becker,
Becker, Chroma, even ICA to a certain extent, because I feel like they've gotten better. I mean, their distribution has gotten better since SW acquired them.
And then, Worth and stuff like that up here. But coming from the paint world, I saw a need that we needed to, if I really wanted to make a go at it in the wood coatings world for Miller, was I really needed to kind of develop a separate entity almost for these wood guys to say, hey, some of these wood guys are very particular. They don't want to work with just a normal pot and brush paint store. They want to feel like they work with, players in the market.
Are you trying to say us wood finishers are little divas?
A little bit.
Because you're probably right.
A little bit.
You can't say that. You're a sales rep. You got customers. I can't. I know we are. I was.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many times my paint store would be like, manager, sales rep would be like, for F's sake, Zach, can you just use what we have in the store? We're tired of bringing crap in. Just use what we have. No.
So, yeah. The biggest part, I would say the biggest difference is just the recognition of support that the wood coaters need versus, let's say, the painter, right? When a painter walks in for a stain match, there's a different, level of stain matching that needs to go on with my guys.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. What's something that you've noticed? You've been doing the water base for a while. You've also dabbled you've done a decent amount of solvent base. What would you say for your region is the product that not necessarily manufacture, but the product line that has made the biggest difference? Is it exterior water based, exterior solvent that dyes? I mean, like something like that that's really taken a lot of helped you be successful.
Oh, it's definitely water based. I mean, the bigger part of it is water based for me. I walk into all the big shops, all the small shops, all the medium shops, uh, and I compete against really about four main sales reps on other people's stuff. So out of the five sales reps, wood coating sales reps in my region, I'm known as the water based guy. Like if all these, like I'm talking, I don't work with a lot of some of the bigger guys, but if they have a water based question or water based need, they're calling me. Um, which I love that. I love being known for something like that. That's great. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's just ever since working with you, uh, starting from, just a little bit and moving on up, my sales were, when I started this, was probably 90% solvent, 10% water. It's completely flipped around now. Um, it's probably 60, 70% water, the rest solvent.
That's awesome. I mean, it's headed that way. I mean, facts. It's an easier product to use. I mean, there's just no way around it. Once you get through the small hurdle of the introduction to it, it's easier. And I'm saying that as a guy who loves solvent 2K polyurethanes.
Actually, I just now got in solvent 2K polyurethanes as well. And
I'm sorry, you're gonna lose that title as the water guy.
yeah,
I love them. Who'd you bring in?
Renner.
Renner?
I do.
So you're bringing in the solvent from Italy.
Yeah.
Because here in the Renner North America, they only unless something's changed. My understanding is they only are doing the water base here in the States, manufacturing, and then the solvent is still shipped over.
Yeah, I think we might have talked about a little bit about this, but Renner's developing more solvent stuff. They're just bringing in their pre-cat lacquer and more solvent, and I think they've opened up a Chicago plant warehouse to stock all that solvent.
Nice. There was a guy. I mean, I've talked to a couple guys who's exclusively use Renner solvent, and they get it from, I think it's Woodworks in Chicago. It's a company called Woodworks with an X, and I want to say Woodworks Supply or something like that. But it's all in the Illinois suburb, Chicago or something like that. And I think what's his name out in California brings in some solvent, but he mainly deals with OEMs. I mean, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you're getting into the 2K solvent. It's a lot of fun. And what's crazy is when you start getting into that 2K solvent and the acrylic modified solvent, the special effects and the crazy weird coatings that the Italians have, it just a lot of that stuff they don't do in water yet. The crazy stuff, the metallics and the special effects like the frosted glass and all that stuff. But when you start getting into that solvent, it's all in that. And then to me, that's where the fun is getting to play with all those coatings. I mean, I love solvent coatings in normal, but just seeing all this stuff that they can do with paint, you're just like, what in the hell?
Yeah, on the water-based side, just getting into the ultra matte paints that they just brought in and developing that. My area is really big into the flattest products available. One of my fastest sellers is the 718.
Is that like their super mat or something like that?
Yeah, it's their natural, clear. They're clear natural. So it's a great product that I love. If you have not used a natural, you could screw it up really fast and over sand. And next thing you know, you're calling your sales rep saying, "How come my white oak is now yellow because of all the sun damage?"
Yep. My favorite thing to do with the natural clear was if you kept it, I use Circa a lot. And if I kept it under a 5%, if I kept it in the 3 to 5% tent load with the solvent coatings, this was the water based. No, this was the solvent. This was the solvent natural look because the water didn't quite, I didn't like it. Use the solvent natural. And I kept my tent load at 3 to 5%. I could get a really kick ass, almost like impregnating solid color stain that when you sprayed it on like an oak, for instance, I did it on oak a lot.
Yeah.
It just looked like, gave the wood some color. So you could do like an opaque color at 3 to 5% on a clear and it would color it, but it would look like a solid color stain almost, but you would still see you would see all the grain coming through and it just felt like there was no clear finish on it, but it would pass every KCMA test you could throw at it. And it was just, people just loved it because it just had enough color that they could get like a gray cabinet, but it wasn't a stain and a clear coat. It was just a single coating. And man, I loved it. I sprayed the crap out of that. Let me rephrase that. My guys sprayed the crap out of that. So let's I don't want to keep you too much longer here, but let's kind of do, just for shits and giggles, like what's a let's see, the most common painter question that you get where you're like, damn it, guys, that you think should be a no-brainer. I mean, my favorite example of this is paint company up in Canada, finishing company up in Canada, Jecco, Jim Kerrigan at Jecco. Like, I'm always like, biggest pet peeve. He's like, my biggest pet peeve is everyone messaging me 500 times a day. Then they just want to know, oh, what tip size you using? He's like, doesn't matter what tip size I'm using. My tip size is not going to make your coating look perfect. He's like, I don't know why, but it gets under my skin. And I want to say, after that podcast, he probably said I probably got about like 1 million. Hey, what tip size is that on every video my guys were spraying? I'm like, yeah, that's because you told the painters how to piss you off.
The guys that I work with, probably the most used question that they have is, percentage of hardener in the water-based material. And it's just a constant, like, I told you this 2 weeks ago. I told you this a month ago. You can't write it on your board, like Sharpie it, 5%, 10%, whatever I say.
I mean, it's not usually, it's always in a TDS.
Yeah. But let me say this. The worst questions I get are from other sales reps. Because I don't really, I
would love a couple examples.
Because I don't really deal with like the house painter that buys Renner or buys water-based or whatnot. I deal with the the cabinet shops, the OEM shops. They're mostly, they understand a lot of those type of things. It's the painters that are asking their sales reps, and their sales reps have no idea about the coatings that I sell in the wood coatings world. And so they're always asking me. And it's just a constant, and to me, it's like just simple questions. It's like, come on, guys. Like,
I know, it's so interesting that they don't, I've noticed this on distributors. You've got some like yourself that'll put in the time and learn it and they're just fascinated by it. And then others, like, it's in one ear and out the other 5 times in one day. You're like, we just talked about this an hour ago. Yeah, man, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
And you're giving prices to people?
It's the halls and walls guys, man. It's like, oh my gosh. But a lot of the metal guys, because a lot of the good sales reps here at Miller, we sold a lot of PPG and a lot of metal coatings for OEM shops and whatnot. Those guys understand, because in the metal world, it's actually wood and metal kind of.
Yeah, the substrate is almost interchangeable. When you get into the industrial coatings, if you understand industrial coatings, it doesn't matter if it's designed for wood, metal, concrete. It's very similar. But yeah, the trim and the cut and brush guys, I could see that being a definite learning curve. And that's why, I mean, I've talked to many guys that I've had on the podcast where it's like, I don't care if you're been painting for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. It's okay to take a class. It's okay to look something up or to say, hey, can you do a training class on the 2K polyurethane or the water-based? We want to get into it. When are you guys going to be holding the class? Because, I mean, even people that finally have done that. I mean, like once you get, can't remember his name, once you get the ego out of the way and you just go to it, you find out how simple the transition really can be.
That's why I love, one of the best things I can tell a painter, some great advice here, is try to find yourself a sales rep that loves to ask questions.
Yeah, that's good.
Because that sales rep is willing to go back into his office and to do training, to learn, and to really expand. And if he's willing to do that for you, he's willing to do that for all of his other customers. He's a good one to keep. It's those sales reps
that's good advice.
Yeah, it's those sales reps that really, if they don't ask questions, then it's not a good one.
Yeah, if all they want to do is try to give you a discount or give you some free gallons, it's time to find a new sales rep.
Yeah, because I remember calling you up if I had questions, calling you up saying, "Hey, we talked for a long time about different things." I would ask you, and I would ask 3 other people, like, "Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this?" Just learning. So that's how
that's the biggest part of this business. Yeah, is don't stop learning. There's just so much. You'll never know everything in this industry. I mean, it's so vast. There's so many coatings on different things. But yeah, well, my favorite last question, and then I'll let you get off here. Is always, I mean, it's kind of morphed a little bit. I had 2, but the one that I always find it gets more interesting answers is Ryan today is out grabbing lunch and you run into 18-year-old Ryan. What's the advice that you would give him?
I was a dreamer back then. Kind of still am a dreamer.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
I would just say, hey, sit back, enjoy the path a little bit more. And don't make it hard on yourself. Just a simple, just stay in the moment.
Yeah, so much. Yeah, I mean, we do that. We all do that. You're always, what's next? What's next? What's next? Just live in the moment. Enjoy the hell out of it. Because it's a good point. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah, time flies by.
Tell me about it. My son turns 8 in like 2 weeks, and I'm just like, you were just born. What the hell happened?
My son turns 8 too soon. So, yeah, it's crazy.
I'm not ready. He's 8 and he's going on like 15. I just want to smack him upside the head a lot of times.
I actually I take my kid out to sales calls sometimes. It's great. He's
So I've started bringing my son with me to some of my other businesses, and we went over this, saw this video, and I think I've talked about it before, but I love it. Saw this video where this guy taught his son, instead of asking for something and you're saying, you know, can you do me a favor? Can you do me this? Would you do this? He's like, if you change the way you structure and ask for things, and you say, would it be possible to do this? Would it be possible to get a candy bar? It's like you change the dynamic of, I want something, you give it to me. You're not asking for it. You're saying, would it be possible to go get a candy bar? I'm just using that as an example. And he says, he used the example, he's at a hotel and he's teaching his son this, who's like 10, takes him with him everywhere, he's in sales. And he said, we're sitting at this hotel and we're checking in, and my son just asked the guy's name. Teach him, you always ask people their names, and he's talking to him, asking him how his day's going. And I'm just standing back, like a step back, and I'm just watching, going, this is good interaction. And then he just goes, hey, John, would it be possible for us to get an upgrade to a suite? And he said, the guy behind the counter just, well, yeah, it would. Here you go. So I've been teaching that to my son. Don't teach that to your son. It's bad. He's like, well, my wife the other day, he's like, hey, Mom, would it be possible for me to look at Amazon on your phone? And she's like, yeah. And then she looks at me, she's like, why did you teach him that? And I'm like, I thought it would be good. I didn't think it would be used against us.
Yeah. Jeez.
But yeah, I mean, it's fun teaching kids. I love it. I mean, they drive you crazy, but I don't know if I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, man, I don't want to keep you too much longer. You've got a hell of a drive ahead of you. But dude, thank you for coming on the show. Vegas, let's grab a drink, maybe do some walking around, check out some stuff, shoot some videos a little bit. I think that's it, man. If you guys aren't if you don't follow Ryan, I'm going to give him a little crap here. You got to be more active on social media.
I do.
But
I started it up.
I'm going to have Ryan's stuff down in the comments. Go check him out on Instagram. He does post some cool stuff. He's done some really awesome tests that I think are probably still out there on 2Ks and different manufacturers of 2K, water-based coatings and the hardeners and pot life. And go find him, watch those videos. They're really cool. And maybe we'll push him to get a little more content out there because he's out every day. But man, that's it, man. I'll let you get off here. Thank you guys for watching. Every Monday, you know, we're dropping a new episode, and you guys go check out Ryan. Thank you, sir.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. We thank everyone for joining. Keep hustling, keep learning, and never settle for anything less than your best. Remember, the path to perfection is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.